welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we finally made it to the last book in the series. Before we jump into that, if you haven't already listened to the first four books in the Crossfire series, I'm going to put all those links down in the description below. And then once you complete those, you can come and join us as we jump into One with You. Eva sneaks back in her mother's house, and of course, she gets caught by her mother. Her mother asks her, are you cheating on Gideon? And Eva was like, no. And then her mother was like, well, is Gideon like cheating on you? She was like, no. So at first, she wasn't going to like talk to her mother about what was going on, and then she decided, you know what? Let me go ahead and let me talk to her. So she tells her that her and Gideon eloped a couple of weeks ago. Her mother, of course, is shocked, a little upset. But the first thing she asks about is the prenup. And so it was hilarious because she was just like, you signed a prenup? You should have had Richard go over that. So right when she was making that comment, Richard walks up. And he's like, I saw it a few weeks ago. I looked it over. There was literally nothing else she could have asked for. He's giving her everything. And her mother was like, there's always more to ask for. And I was like, well, dang. So we clearly are going to have a story with that woman. So she's like, I got to go to work. Let's have lunch. We'll talk later. And her mom's like, all right, that'll work. So she goes to work. She tells Mark, she hands in her resignation. This is going to be her last day is going to be tomorrow. And she calls her dad and tells him about it. He was heartbroken, and her hearing her father heartbroken, that hurt her. And so of course she's like full on crying, and Gideon was coming down to like thank her because she had sent him some flowers earlier with a nice note, and he was coming down to like thank her for the flowers, and he sees her like full on crying. So you already know he's in crisis mode. He's like, so he grabs the phone and he's like, Victor, I understand that you're upset, but I will not allow you to upset my wife. And they go back and forth, and Gideon puts the phone on speaker. And then Victor was like, I don't want to upset you. I'm just hurt. He's like, can we talk later tonight? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So then she goes to lunch with her mother, and they talk about a strategy to deal with Corrine. And her mother pretty much just wants her to do nothing. Wait for the book to blow over. Just don't do anything. And Eve was like, no, I feel like we need to put more personalized photos like in the media to like combat this book that's going to come out. And of course her mother doesn't agree, but we already know Eva's going to do what Eva wants to do. So good old Corrine shows up to see Gideon, and he was in his office with his attorney, Arash, I think is how you say it. And he gets the call from Scott, his assistant, hey, Corinne's out here. And he's like, you know what? You go deal with her because I don't want to, So Arash goes out to talk to her. Old girl just like bypasses him and heads straight for Gideon's office. So she's like, she just wants to show him the pictures that are going to be in the book. And he looks through a couple of them, and they do look happy in the photos. And he tells her that, me and Eva got married a couple of weeks ago. And immediately, Corrine, like, stills. And he tells her, listen, if you come here again, security is not going to let you enter, period. Because she, of course, was trying to get him to see, like, there was love here. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter if there was love. I think to the extent that he could love someone, he did. And I think he did care for her. And I think he did whatever the little piece of love he could give, he did give her. But it is not the same as what he feels for Eva. And her problem is she feels this intensity, like how he feels about Eva or Eva feels about him. She feels that intensity and can't understand how he can. And that's the one thing that'll get you messed up, because she can't separate the fact that he doesn't share those same emotions. And so she's trying to convince him that if you felt this once, if you could make me feel this way, then surely you just need to be reminded. And it's like, girl, let it go. Eva shows up because her and Gideon are going to dinner together. And so, she sees Corrine and she speaks. She's like, "Hi, Corrine." And Corrine's like, "Hi, Eva. But she didn't flip out, you know. She feels a lot more secure in the relationship. I think once she really saw and realized that Gideon really doesn't have those emotions for that woman, I think it helps her. She's still a very jealous person, don't get it ever twisted. But she realized, no, this man is beyond for me. So there's no need for me to stress about someone. Because at the end of the day, this woman is trying to put out a book. What reason do you have to try and remind somebody how they feel about you if you already got their feel? If you already have the heart, there's no point because you already got it. So I think that helped her as well realize, yeah, he really don't want her. I'm good. So they go to dinner, have a little discussion. She lets him know she wants to abstain from sex until they get married. And then she also drops the bomb on him because he had wanted to take her to the Outer Banks house for the weekend. And she had already committed them to going to Westport, I think it's in Connecticut, on a trip like with her family, Richard and Monica's house. And so he caved to the, going on the Westport trip. But he was pissed with this. He's like, that's not an option. Like, I can't do that. Because I think they have like 2 or 3 more weeks. I think 3 weeks until the wedding. And he's like, we're already married. So what are you doing? There is no purpose in this. Like, this doesn't work for me. Like, she was saying, listen, we need to do this. We need to do this. And that was just hilarious because I was the minute I read that, I was like, he's gonna flip out. That man, he's too dependent on that connection. And I think they both are, and I think that's kind of why she felt like, if we remove this out of the equation, is it still a good relationship? Is it just that we're addicted to each other physically? I kind of get why she felt the need to do that, but we'll see how long this lasts. So they go to therapy. Of course, the first thing Gideon brings up is about her withholding sex. And Dr. Peterson basically lets them know, you both use manipulation to get what you want from the other person. Eva, you knew that removing yourself from him, remember he went a little crazy when she was like, I need a break, I need to figure this out, after she found out, he had offered Mark the job and everything. She knew, if I remove myself from this, he's got to break some type of way. He knows if I corner Eva enough, I can get what I want from her, So they both use manipulation. It's not healthy. I've said it 1,000 times. This is not a healthy type of love. But this is how they operate. And hearing it come from the therapist really helped them, because it was like, damn, we really are doing that to each other. But we're supposed to love each other beyond measure, and we're doing things that we know will hurt the other person. So it was a little epiphany for both of them, because they did realize, okay, he's not lying. He's on to something. So they leave from the appointment. Eva goes to her apartment. Gideon wants to stay, of course, at her place. And then if not at her place, then he'll just stay next door at his other, next door in his apartment. And she's like, no, you need to go to your apartment in the Upper East Side. So she has a talk with Carrie. Carrie has told Tatiana they're not going to be living together. So she's all pissed off. He still hasn't heard anything from Trey, because, dude says he still needs more time. So then Eva tells Carrie about Ann Lucas. And he was like, I saw her a week ago. And he was like, yeah, she flirted with me and stuff like that, but it wasn't anything suspicious. So apparently she was wearing this long wig again. Which to me is like, what the hell are you wearing a long wig for? They know what you look like, but what is really going on? So, of course, the most she can kind of tell Carrie is that, Gideon fucked Ann, and that she has it out for him. But she can't really go into Gideon's real story. So Eva calls Gideon with this information that Carrie told told her. And Gideon was like, I'm coming over there. So Gideon comes over. He's got Angus and Raul. So he's got security detail with him. And of course, they can't go into full detail about, why this is such a big deal. But they decide they're going to put a detail on him, on Carrie. He's not mad because, listen, if he got security detail, it's going to look two ways. He's going to look like he's more important than what he is, or he's going to look a little pretentious, which he doesn't care. So it works out for him either way. So he's like, whatever. And he goes to his bedroom. So then Gideon and Eva have a conversation. And basically she just lets him know that she needs to have a talk with Anne. So, of course, Gideon at first is against it. But she lets him know, listen, we're a team. And Operation Godiva is underway. I love that name she made up for him. I loved it. So he's like, you know what? You're right. It is what it is. So, they will have security, like figure out her patterns, her route, kind of figure out her schedule, and then Eva's gonna like surprise her. So Eva goes to work the next day, her final day, and on her lunch break, Mark takes her to the Mexican restaurant that they first went to when they had lunch on her first day. And everyone's there, Will, Megumi, Steven, Shauna, and then Gideon shows up, and she, of course, is just beyond and overwhelmed with emotion because she loves all these people. So they get to her parents' house in Westport. We're in the weekend now. Gideon freaks all the way out. So he knew Richard and Monica from the charity scene. And it's always just been kind of polite conversation. So now he's getting like hugs and smiles and welcome to the family, and it's freaking him out. You got to remember, he doesn't have a really good rapport with family. So Eva could tell like he was kind of losing his shit. She could tell. And she took him on the beach and they kind of have it out. And she was confused because she's like, okay, you were the one that wanted to get married and you wanted everyone to know. So why the hell are you freaking out? And he was like, I married you. I didn't marry all of this. But nah, dude, you did. And she's like, yeah. And I have a family. But he's like, I didn't sign up for all of this. She's like, you know what? I just give up. I'm done. I can't. So they have another little argument about it. They go in, they have dinner, and he was a little bit more relaxed, had a little wine. It was flowing pretty freely throughout the dinner, so he was getting a little better. Most of the conversation kind of steered towards Lacey, who's Martin's girlfriend, Richard's son. So that helped ease the situation as well. So then when they're getting ready to go upstairs, he starts panicking because he's thinking about the sleeping situation. So you got to think, no one else, she's thinking about the no sex rule. He's thinking about, I ain't trying to hurt you, So they actually wound up sleeping in the same bed. He actually slept through and didn't have any nightmares. But he was like super upset because he was like, what could have happened? And she was just like, can't we just be happy about the win? Something good happened. We need to just be happy about that. And I just focusing on what could have happened. So they go downstairs and they have a good time with the family. Gideon did get upset with her when she talked about trying to get in contact with his mother to like maybe get her involved in the wedding planning. And he was kind of like, no, like she doesn't need to be involved. He was, a little cutthroat with her about that. And she let it go because she could tell. Don't push it. They get back to the city. Eva wants a whole new hairdo. So she has Carrie called a hairstylist to come to the house. And she's going to meet Gideon for lunch that day. And she is also going to go see Miss Ann Lucas. So she has Angus and Raul find her. They do. So she goes to meet Gideon. And of course she takes his breath away when he sees her. She has like these highlights. And just girl was killing it. So they head to Arnaldo's restaurant, which I think is called Tableau 1, which is basically